Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about histograms and frequency distributions. So this is actually just going to be about how to create the frequency table. So there's going to be two different videos. So the second one will be then how to create the histogram from the frequency table. So let's go ahead and get started. So a frequency table, so this type of table separates your data into classes, or what's also known as an interval. And shows how many data values are in each class. So the classes, or the intervals, are constructed so that each data value falls into exactly one class. So you shouldn't have, so if you have, say, like multiple 3s or something as a part of your data, all of them should be in the same class or you did something wrong. So then a histogram is a graphic representation of how your data is distributed. So it's actually going to look a lot like your bar graphs, but how to get them is completely different. So like I said, we're going to start with making your frequency tables in this video. So you need to determine the number of classes that are needed and the corresponding class width. So to find the class width, you are going to take your largest data value and subtract it from your smallest data value. And then you're going to divide it by the number of classes. So the number of classes is something that will be given to you. So that's not something that you're going to have to find. If by any chance you ever get a decimal, you need to always, always, always round up to the nearest whole number. So even if you get, say, 5.1, round it up to 6. Or else, like I was saying earlier, the 3, if you have multiple 3s, they're going to end up in 2 different classes, and that you don't want that to happen. Okay, so create each of the classes. It's understood that the smallest data value given is the lower class limit. Of the first class, and of the first class. Oh, so then what you would do with that is then you are going to add the class width, which you would have found here, to this number to get the lower class limit. So this will make more sense in a second when we actually do an example. So then you're going to fill in the upper class limit to create a distinct, your distinct classes. Then you're going to tally all the data in each class. So how many actually fall into that category. Total the tallies to obtain the class frequency. Then determine the class boundaries to find the upper class boundary and then you would add 0.5 to the upper class limit to find the lower class boundary. You're going to subtract 0.5 from your lower class limit. So again, no class should overlap another, and no data value should fall into more than one class. Okay, so I know that was a lot of information all at once, so it will make more sense here in a second. Okay, so let's do some examples here. Okay, so what we want to do first is figure out what our width is. That's what it says to do first. So they already told us that this is for 4 classes. Like I said, they should tell you that information. So this is for 4 classes. So to figure out the class width, you're going to take the largest data value and subtract the smallest data value from that. So if I'm looking at all this data here, 8, and it doesn't matter which 8, but there's the largest. And then 1 is the smallest. So I'm going to do 8 minus 1, and then you're going to divide it by your number of classes, which they told you. So you're using 4 classes, so this is divided by 4. So this would be 7 divided by 4, which is 1.75. So you need to round that up to the nearest whole number. So that being 2. So okay. So then to figure out your class limit, you're going to start with your smallest data value. And then you are going to add the width to that number. So this can be a little tricky. So your smallest number, we already said, was 1, and your largest number is 8. So you shouldn't, your upper value in your last one should be 8. So to figure out your class limit, you are going to start with 1 and then add 2 to it. So here's the tricky part. You have to include 1 in that value. So you have 1 and then 2. So if my class width is 2, my second number, this would go through 2. Then this starts at the next one, so 3. So 3, 4. Then 5, 6, 7, 8. So you should end on your highest value over here. Okay? So now we're gonna, I think that's what's next. We're gonna tally all the data. So you're just gonna look at all your data and put it where it would fall within your class limit. So we have a 1, so that's gonna go here. 7 is here, along with 8. Then your 4. So you have 2 4s. A 5. And the 6. Then your 3. And an 8. And a 7. 2. A 5. A 1. And then 2 6s. So 1, 2. So your frequency is how much those occurred. So how many tally marks do you have? So I have 3 tally marks here. I have 3 tally marks here. I have 5 and then 4. Then your class boundary is adding and subtracting 0.5 from your class limit. So looking at my class limit, the lower number is 1, so I would subtract 0.5 from that. So meaning that this is 0.5. Then your upper one, I would add 0.5 to, so 2.5. And then here, the 3 would be 2.5 because I would subtract that to 4.5. So these two numbers, so your biggest number here and your smallest number here should be the same if you did your class limits right. So then 4.5 to 6.5, 6.5 to 8.5. Okay, so, well, there's not another example. Never mind. So I want you to go ahead in your homework and go through and make all your frequency tables for this assignment. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day.